Dear viewers, welcome to Radio Metro Mail. You are watching Catch Up, and I am Emamul Haque, your today's host. In Catch Up, we meet people, those who are interested in politics. Today we have a very special guest with us, who is a widely known, respectable researcher, writer, and an advocate for social justice. Rima Berns-McGown.
Thank you so much for having me. This is really lovely.
Thank you very much for joining us today. And I remember that during your election also you joined us. You discussed many things with us. Dear viewers, we are talking to Rima Berns. She is an MPP for Beaches and East York. And she is a former professor of University of Toronto. She was teaching political science and diaspora studies, and she has a PhD in political science. And she often talked about Islamophobia. I remember last time also.
Yeah.
So I remember that many of you sent us an email. You wanted to know more about the Islamophobia and how it is impacting the Ontarian or the Canadian. So I'd like to take that opportunity and ask you, that is really Islamophobia is an issue in Canada?
I think it is an issue, and I think it is an issue that is consistently there with this government, and it's one of the things that we are pushing against. I feel very grateful to be in caucus with a number of colleagues who are people of color and who are Muslim. So I have, in addition to myself, I have two Muslim MPPs also working with me, Dolly Begum and Faisal Hassan. Yeah. And so there are a number of us who are racialized and who come at these issues and take them very seriously. And in fact, the whole caucus is very sensitive to them and takes them very seriously, even people who don't have personal experience of being marginalized or racialized. We are very sensitive to the kinds of issues and bills that the government puts forward, or the perspectives that it has, that are generally not overtly Islamophobic, but are subtly Islamophobic. And so there are a number of things. There are the ways that they approach new immigrants, and the way that they call them illegal. They're specifically talking about people who are crossing from the United States in an irregular way. So I would never call them illegal. They're asylum seekers, and they have a right to seek asylum, and they have a right to do it in whatever way they can. And there's a very particular reason in which they're not crossing at the regular border crossings. They're crossing irregularly, so not through the regular channels. But that doesn't make them bad people, and it doesn't make them people who need to be talked about in a disparaging way. And then there's an example of a bill that they just passed, which I actually don't want to talk about on air because I don't want to give it more publicity than it had. But it had definitely Islamophobic and racist undertones. And there's also the way that and this is really important, during the municipal election campaign, one of the municipal candidates was a neo-Nazi who was overtly Islamophobic and anti-Semitic and anti-Black racist, but the things that she said about Muslims were absolutely awful. And the premier took a picture with her, smiling, and when we asked him to denounce her as a candidate, he never would. He said vaguely that he denounces hate, but he would never denounce her, and he allowed her to use their picture together in her literature. So she came in third in the mayoral campaign, and that is absolutely terrifying. She got 25,000 votes in the city of Toronto. And so, that kind of stuff is actually really scary when you have the Premier of the province refusing to denounce specifically by name this particular mayoral candidate who has made Islamophobia a central plank of her platform. That kind of stuff is out there, and it continues to, the premier he's very slippery around this stuff. It's like he knows that his base is largely Islamophobic and racist, and he says things that are meant to quell those concerns, but they never completely do because he doesn't come out strongly. So it is something that we keep again pushing against and bringing into the light, because our concern is that if you don't talk about this stuff, it will continue to grow, and it's really concerning.
Thank you. This is definitely concerning, but we'll ask you about that, how we can encounter Islamophobia. But before going into that, what is the root of this Islamophobia?
How does it express itself?
Yeah.
So it expresses itself in a whole bunch of different ways. After the shooting on the Danforth, for instance, there were a number of rallies that were put on by groups that are expressly Islamophobic, and they were really trying to drum up hate in the community on the Danforth, and they were trying to blame the shooting on the fact that the shooter was Muslim. Rather than the fact that he had mental health issues and was very troubled and not able to get the help that he needed. It was a horrific act, but the concern here is that there were groups that were expressly trying to use that act to drum up Islamophobia. There were posters that were put up in the community and so on and so forth. Recently, I know that there's been a case that a number of parents living in Beaches, East York, as well as in Scarborough, are very concerned about. It was just in Vice, the news outlet recently. Stephen Zhu wrote an article about it, about a parent of a white child, one of only 3 white children in a kindergarten class, allowed a picture of this class to be posted on a white nationalist website. And the white nationalist who posted it was making the claim that we, white people, are being replaced by people of color, and that this is very frightening. Now, that came to light very shortly after the Pittsburgh shooting, when a white nationalist entered a synagogue, and before killing a number of people, yelled about Jews and Muslims and how he wanted to get rid of them. And obviously, the parents who know that there are people posting pictures of kindergarten are terrified.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think that these things the problem is that when elected officials don't shut this stuff down and don't all speak out very strongly against it, then it starts to grow underneath. And even people who might always have had those views now feel that they have the license to say them louder, out loud. And it's concerning because you never know who is going to try to do something. And it's terrible even if somebody is just making nasty comments.
That's right.
But the concern is that it might go beyond nasty comments, right?
Definitely it is serious. We have serious concern about that. So we live in a multicultural environment. So Canada is a pluralistic society. So we and our we believe in freedom of religion, freedom of expression. So in this context, how we can counter this kind of Islamophobic attitude? So we need to do something about that.
Absolutely. And again, I think it's really important. And it's one of the reasons that we work so hard in the opposition to make clear that we need to push back against hate, and we need to continue to actively work to build, because it is a constant act of building, to understand each other's concerns, to understand each other's lived experiences, and to work at creating a society that works for everybody. It's not something that happens all by itself. We continually have to work to understand where each other's sensitivities are, and to figure out, how do we do the very hard work of making sure that we can all live here together, right? Because it's so important that every one of us, no matter what our backgrounds, our faiths, our lived experiences, that we all feel that we can live fulfilled lives without barriers.
So we are proud of this kind of Canada, not the kind of Canada we are talking about.
Exactly.
Unfortunately. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, and it's been such a delight to be here and to speak with all of your viewers.
Thank you. Dear viewers, thank you very much for watching our program. We hope that you liked it. If you have any question, you can write us back. You can email us at radio@themetromail.com. We'll talk about something else. We'll bring new guests to our next episode. Until then, please take care and stay well. Thank you. Bye-bye for today.
Bye.